guys. So I have limited time to make any content, so I apologize for that. And I thought that I would show you something. Basically, someone messaged me and told me that Prussian has been frothing at the mouth about me a bit in October and November, which they told me that a while back, like late October, and then someone else told me in early November, and I just don't care that much. He's not important, as Diane said, he's nobody, but at the same time, he is the reason my records are sealed because he's a dangerous nobody. So, nonetheless, uh, I just kind of ignored this for a long time. And, I had to draft the actual document. I think that matters a lot more, right? And in making content, there's so much morose stuff to look at when you're looking at this anyway. Why add that psycho to the mix? So, uh, basically, because I'm limited on time, and I always poke around on Kiwi, so once in a while I'll go there and look around, see if anything new is going on, because a lot of people drop some interesting information there from time to time. And Mike Shoney made a funny comment about Prussian's latest blog post. That was the last thing on Kiwi, and it was hilarious. So um, I agree, I concur, and it made me realize, so I went over to Prussian's blog and, did my annual gloss over to see if there are any new death threats or anything, and see how crazy is getting, And it's pretty crazy. Same stuff though, nothing new. Firstly, I'll say that he gives himself away. He spends a lot of time, methinks he doth protest too much, that he doesn't have any sock puppets. So this recent sock puppet that was saying they were, who is it? It's Filippo. Filippo is one of the people that supported Diane back when no one else did, before, there were any parody channels or any court cases like mine. Filippo told the truth, the real Filippo. So this person that wrote this stuff was not Filippo. Later on, I saw it's that Solo Panther account, but they made like a dummy account, and I could tell from what they were saying that it probably was not Filippo. But I'm not, I don't run around looking for people's accounts to see what they are, because I don't have time for that kind of thing. But it just looked fake to me. I didn't think Filippo would encourage Diane to break the law. This is the second time that Prussian, I will, 99.9% say that's him. He did it a long time ago and gave himself away because, like a year or more ago, he wrote in his sock puppet account that he hopes somebody hurts Gaddis and Marina and the child. And so I didn't allow that to be said on my page. Nobody on my page wants anything to happen to that child. And we're also not going to, advocate for crime against anybody. What we're doing is perfectly legal. So a year later, he remembers that post and writes about it on his page. The verbiage in the post is his verbiage, so that's him. Nobody else would remember that a year later. This last failed attempt at pretending to be Filippo and telling Diane to hire somebody to do something to Goaty and find him and, do something to him, basically unalive him, is something that the real Filippo would not have done, and that was not Filippo. And he gives away who it was by talking about it. Whenever I snipe his sock puppet accounts, he goes into a meltdown. So that's what happened. He also writes ridiculous things about how the, social media company doesn't have to uphold Netherlands law. We've covered all of that here. Social media companies in America are beholden to all international laws. And, also there's cases right now, criminal cases against social media company CEOs for things they've done related to crime all over the world. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know who filed what. He talks about demerors in such a way where he doesn't know who filed the demeror. He was saying my demeror. Sorry, buddy, but the demeror was filed by the corporation against me, against my petition. You don't know what you're talking about. But what else isn't new? So that was kind of the theme here, though. I was thinking about doing like a stream where I talked about basically the pathology of somebody like him, but it's only so interesting. But just to say that, like, it's not a lost pathology. It's the same one Goatis has. It's just variations on a theme, and they all do the same kind of stuff. And because I had to come up here to work, I don't want to like pull up his page on my work computer, basically for obvious reasons. It's a psycho blog full of illegal content, and I don't want to be looking at that here. So even if it's for a righteous reason, it's not a good idea to pull that up here. So anyway, and just to talk about what I've been doing real quick. I work on legal stuff for a nonprofit. this place is a 501c3 corporation that covers like most of the state I'm in and half of another one. And I am the legal person here. But it all has to do with working to advocate for the safety of people that are in hospitals. So, in the case that we just dealt with last week, every single day we had 8 hours of depositions about the death of a child. So it was a very rough week. I caught a cold on Thursday, so that's why I sound like this. I sound like I'm being Primal Bell, even while I'm not being Primal Bell, because my voice is very rough. But I'm doing better than I thought. I thought it was going to be really bad. Basically, the attorney from the outside law firm that came up here for the depositions was really sick. And he, I kind of resented, like, why didn't we just change the date and not come up here sick? But he gave me his cold. And so I'm doing a lot better than I thought. I'm actually faring better than he did. So by Saturday, I felt a lot better. And today I feel even better than that. So I think I'll be fine. And but that also brings me to another point I wanted to make. I just wanted to, update you on things about the case and my life and whatnot real quick. So January 6th is the hearing, right? So I don't talk about my personal a whole lot on here. I did talk briefly about like digestive stuff once in one of my streams, but basically I have had a rough time. That stuff has kind of come back, and so I'm doing better now. But the reason is that I have medicine for it, and it just kind of goes up and down. I had a surgery back in like 2011 or 12 for a hiatal hernia, and it's called a Nissen fundoplication. I don't know if I brought that up in the other stream. I just didn't want to get too technical. I was kind of hoping this stuff would resolve without having to do anything about it, but that's not how that works. Usually in about 10 years, you have to redo that surgery. It's been more than 10 years for me, so that's good. I did really well with it, but I am having the problems that you have due to that surgery. So January 6th, I see a specialist, and that'll get the ball rolling. They have a thing now that you can get that basically gets rid of it for life. You only have to do it once, and you never have to do it again, so that's good. And that's what I'm going to probably be doing. So I don't know how soon they would do that procedure. But it's the same day. The appointment is the same day as the hearing, but it's fine because the appointment is just to establish care. So it's like in the morning I'll meet with them, and then at 1:30 I think is when our hearing is. So just to clear up the rumor that there is no case, that if you really want to listen to somebody like Prussian tell you something like that, let's clear that rumor up. So that I don't mind pulling up on this computer. So let's do that. Okay, let me share my screen real quick. I can remember how. I always forget how to do the YouTubes. Let's do this. Alrighty. Let's see. So this is the Santa Clara Courts, California.gov online services. There's their website. There's their portal. Access now. Share this tab instead. Search case information. Case number search. The case number is 24CV449612. There's me, Millie Henderson versus YouTube et al. And it started out as a mandamus action, a writ of mandate, and it was filed on, am I sharing the right screen? Yeah. So October 16th, 2024. This is asking me something about an extension, but I'll just enable it, I guess. Alrighty, so let's look at what all's gone on, who the parties are, all that good stuff. Oh, that's why it was asking me, because it's going to be Adobe Acrobat. What the hell? I don't want Adobe Acrobat on here. No. Get out of my way here. There we go. So that brings me to another thing I want to say. Goatis Legends has schizoaffective disorder, and Prussian exhibits some of the same behaviors, if you notice, and multiple people do on the internet. There's a lot of that here. What do you have on the internet? You have grandiose delusions about oneself. You have, behavior towards an audience that's very megalomaniacal. You have ideas about people that are really, let's just say it's a bicameral mind kind of thing. People are categorized as either, angels or demons, and these people literally believe in dumb shit. and they believe they have some type of power over other people. You can see in Prussian's writing that he writes about, what all he's going to do to people. He's not going to do shit to people. He would have to come up out of the basement to do any of it. So, but they didn't throw away the mold with him. He's not the only one acting that way. He's just so overtly crazy that it's obvious. But when you look at him and you look at Goatis and you look at multiple content creators that are maybe a little bit better at covering up what they are, you kind of see the same behavior though, and the same, problems. Not that, I think it sucks that people will call people paranoid for believing that there are bad things going on in this world. There really are. And there are people that really are plotting against others. There really are conspiracies against people and conspiracies to do bad things. But that being said, there are people who are on the paranoid end of the spectrum, who are delusional, and they are all over the internet. And they're using it to, snooker and harass and harangue and manipulate others. And that's kind of all they can do with themselves. So to me, anybody that would let their kid get on a device and just go to town on it and never really check in on what they're doing, you're just out of your mind. I even resent the fact that I got a phone. I think it was just a necessity by the time I got one. I got one in 2012, but before that, I just never really bothered with a cell phone. I had one at work once that they gave us for being at work because I taught kids, and we had phones to keep up with each other. But in terms of having a phone for personal use, I didn't do that till around 2012. And, just the other day, my coworker, her daughter was here before she took her home, and she was playing with her phone, and she was a sweet kid. We were talking and all, and but I noticed all three of us were on a device, in between talking to each other. This is really altering people. There are people who are, on these devices manipulating people, and I think people are becoming less able to even be aware of how effed up something is. They won't leave a sick, toxic conversation. I will, I'll talk to anybody. I know people are crazy on the internet, but so it doesn't bother me. But I notice that other people don't react that way. They also get really upset about it and stay on it for a long period of time. And you're staying upset about crazy people. Do realize that. The difference here with Goatis, there would be no reason to start a parody account about Goatis live streams and keep it going for a year or two or any time at all over just him being a nutbag. It's because he's a dangerous nutbag that's trying to kill someone, and one of those someones is a child. It's because he's a dangerous nutbag that's let us know that he's harming an infant girl. And, knowing that they know that and don't do anything about it is the issue. But really, people really need to guard their mind a lot better than they do. It really would be a good idea. I saw one time, Ellen DeGeneres one time was making fun of people who don't own a TV. And I thought, well, of course you're doing that because, you wouldn't make a living if people got off the TV. There's nothing weird about not owning a TV. Going to the Wayback Machine, nobody owned a damn TV. This is a small part of human history where we sat in front of these devices. So, to me, I can only spend so much time making content and consuming content. But I think they really have people in their mind. They're constantly preoccupied with what's going on the internet. And it's just becoming really weird. It's so weird. And it's how people like Goatis and Prussian, who are mental sick fucks, are getting a hold of the minds of other people. And so it's just something to think about. Being an advocate against that as much as we're an advocate against murder, because it is kind of a type of murder, if you think about it, when you want to murder people's personhood, to squash anybody who thinks for themselves, to squash anybody who walks away from you, the way that Goatis live streams wanted to squash Diane for walking away from him. That was the thing that bothered him more than anything else, was just the idea that she would walk away from him and have a perfectly okay life. People like that, people like Prussian and Goatis are never happy. And also Prussian, there's another thing that was on that blog that was interesting. YouTube recognized they have their little built-in things to help prevent suicide and whatnot. And they must have picked up on the fact that he was having that type of ideation or appeared to have those types of interests because they put a help thing on the screen. And he put that he didn't have those interests and how mad that made him. But then he put what all he'd been searching, and it was nothing but the verbiage of a totally depressed, fucked up sad person. So, yeah, YouTube showing concern for him. He didn't appreciate it, of course, because people like that don't. But nevertheless, YouTube got it right in that case. Yes, the guy is. These kinds of people are dangerous to others and to themselves, and they never will be anything but. Some people, though, are not as fucked up as them, and those are the people that we should want to protect from this kind of stuff. Um, and by that, I don't mean censoring speech, but by that I mean advocating against certain types of mentalities dominating the landscape, teaching people that they have a right to think for themselves, teaching people to get off of the, keeping this internet stuff in your headspace too much, because it creates people like Prussian, and it's just the saddest, sickest thing. So yeah, whenever we get done with this guy, that would be the other thing that people could really work on advocating for. And we're going to have laws on the books against all this minor attracted crap and all this other stuff very soon. It's already in the works. YouTube's already embroiled in other lawsuits besides mine. There's already statutory law on the books coming that I've discussed in other videos. Suppression. You might want to crack open a book, do a little counter research by scrolling some sites, and yeah, but they don't want to know. So it's not really a matter of them not knowing. It's a matter of feigning not knowing, and they don't have anything new also to do towards people like myself. So it's really sad. Hopefully they don't get so sad that they, unalive themselves. Maybe YouTube can help them by directing them to some resources. But anyway, that's all I have for now. I will try to do maybe some kitschy content. We have the holiday coming up, and where I live, we have some weather coming up. As some of you know that read my community posts, I hit a deer on the Friday before last Friday. So I actually had to wait to get that fixed. So today, Monday, what will be today, after tonight, tomorrow at 11 a.m., I go get that looked at and figure out what we're going to do there. So, because the car's still drivable, but I need a headlight. So, got to get that fixed and do normal people stuff and have the holiday. And then I'll, not that this isn't normal people stuff, but I consider Goatis and Marina and all this stuff online to be highly abnormal. We're battling the abnormal. So, it's not fun to look at it exactly, but it is fun to do something about them and to do something to help allow other people that want to have a normal life to have one. We have that right. So that part's fun, and I'll try to make some funny content when there's not so much going on, and I get a chance to do that. And I'm at home, I'm more comfortable and all that kind of stuff. So everybody have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.